rather than shoot another really long video, I wanted to explain just as an introductory who I am, what I believe, and just go through a list of subjects one video at a time. I don't know, I think this makes a lot more sense than shooting a really long video introducing myself. My name's Gregory Dearth, and I started the YouTube account, The Atheist Guard. It's kind of a lame name, I understand. It just came to me one of these days. I was like, you know what am I going to call this channel? And being that I'm going to be shooting the majority of my videos while at my job, because my employer's cool with that, in my security guard get up, I figured, yeah, let's just call it the Atheist Guard and just run with it, and hopefully nobody's going to care too much about that name. So that's where the name of the channel came from. I am an actual security guard. I patrol low security properties for the government that only require one guard to be on duty at any given time. And as such, I got a lot of free time on my hands. I've actually almost completed my associate's degree, doing it entirely online at work. Man, that's a loud AC system. Anyways, I've also written a book on the job, published it on Amazon for Kindle, and now I've started this YouTube thing so I can have something else to keep me awake, basically. I am an atheist, and that's what I wanted to cover in this video primarily, besides just the name of the channel, is that atheism, to me, the definition I'm going to be using, is someone who hasn't been convinced that a God exists, and thus does not believe a God exists. Now, I'm not saying I know no gods exist, because that's something that you really can't know. I mean, how would you possibly know that? That's like saying you know no leprechauns exist. I guess in a certain sense, you could say I have extremely high confidence that no leprechauns exist because there's no evidence that they do, and all the evidence is that they're mythical. And in that sense, yeah, I know no gods exist. But this is not something I'm trying to demonstrate. This is not something I have a burden of proof for. Those asserting that leprechauns exist or gods exist, they have the burden of proof because they're making a positive claim. And all I'm saying is I'm not convinced by the arguments for the existence of God or anything they present as supposed evidence that a God actually exists. And that's it. That's all atheism is. Now beyond that, I'm a bunch of other things, humanist and, liberal to a certain extent, although not entirely. But I'm going to be going over those positions in further videos because beyond the definition of atheism and the fact that there isn't enough evidence to convince any rational person that a God exists, there's really not much else to be said about it, other than to potentially go through the different arguments and explain the refutations to them and explain the logical fallacies that are committed by theists who put forward these arguments as if they can demonstrate a God exists by merely using a syllogism and not actually offering any hard evidence to demonstrate the premises or making bad premises in the first place that are just flawed to the core, making assumptions, circular logic. There's a whole bunch of things that you could do in the subject of atheism versus theism. But atheism itself is real simple. Don't believe a God exists, haven't been convinced. And I'm open-minded to being convinced. I've looked at, I would almost be confident to say all of the arguments for the existence of God and have found none of them to be convincing. Sorry, I found the refutations to them to be, the refutations to those arguments to be quite convincing, that these arguments don't do anything. They don't demonstrate that a God doesn't exist, they just don't demonstrate that one does. So is it possible that a God exists? I don't even know if that's possible, any more than I know if it's possible that unicorns could exist, or leprechauns could exist. It's not even a question that I really contemplate. But I'm open-minded to being convinced because there's this popular belief, there's this thing that like 80% of the population believes. And I would like to know if there is any sound reason to think it's true. Why wouldn't you want to know that? And that's what it is to be open-minded. To be closed-minded would be to say that I know no gods exist, you can't convince me otherwise, and I'm not even going to listen to you. I don't mind listening. People can write in the comments sections their reasons for believing. I'll respond to them. I'll evaluate them honestly. I'll look at them and say, well, does this guy actually have a point? I haven't seen any yet. And I've been looking for quite a long time. But I'm still open to being convinced. And that's what it is to be rational and intellectually honest, that you don't close your mind off once you reach a conclusion. My conclusion is tentative. My conclusion that it's likely that there is no God is tentative. I'm open to being convinced. And that's mainly because I'm a rational skeptic. All right, well, that handles this video, and I'll post another one pretty soon here. Maybe even I'll shoot another one tonight after I upload and edit this thing, because I still got 6-7 hours left on my shift, and all my homework's caught up currently as far as college goes, so I really have nothing to do but watch YouTube videos anyways. That's part of the reason I did this, is I was like, well, if I'm going to be watching YouTube, why don't I just do some YouTube videos? I like to talk. Even if I'm talking to myself or a camera, I like to talk. And mainly, the reason I'm doing this is just to spread information, to give a more accurate portrayal of what atheism is now, what the definitions of these words mean now. Because, yeah, if you look at a dictionary definition, you might get something totally different when it comes to atheism, or agnosticism, or any of these terms that are being thrown around nowadays. And there's a lot of confusion over that. So I'm here to dispel a lot of that confusion by appealing to popular definitions and ones that I think are more concrete. They just sound better, they work better, they're more logically consistent, they don't have these weird false dichotomies built into the terminology. That's what I'm here to really do, is just be another voice to explain this terminology so that theists and atheists alike can understand what we're talking about, what the actual basis of our beliefs is, and what is rational. What it is to be a rational skeptic, and burden of proof and all that. So thanks a lot, YouTube. I'll see you in a little bit.